any mana that would use rejuvenation. I mean, you can see poor play there, Infi letting himself lose a breaker, and of course any single unit is vital at any time in the game. He's actually going to lose his Berserker here stupidly. Somehow that Water Elemental reaches it. He will gain some experience, but again, it's just stupid to lose units like that. But at this point, Moon is starting to realize that this battle is going to be very difficult. He's going to give it one more chance because the towers aren't up yet. This is very intelligent from Infi to actually have this offensive shop, both to bring in towers and to bring in healing items. You see right here, he's just kind of split up amongst these towers, and you can see that he's just taking damage as he's doing this, but Infi somehow does not have an army anymore. He's picked off so many units, picking off the militia, picking off the mortars and whatnot, that the army's not too terribly difficult to deal with right now. And in a lot of ways, I would say that it'd be very useful for Moon to have a lot of Dryads right now, because he doesn't have... In small battles, Dryads are really, really amazing, is what I want to say. The slow poison hitting a single target is a larger percentage when the army's small, obviously. And when you have only 5 units to watch, it's very easy to dodge mortar shots. They're area of effect units, and if you're only have 2 Dryads, it's not a very big area, so their damage output is limited simply by that. But additionally, again, you have more time to focus on microing Dryads so they don't get owned. So what we see here is just the Demon Hunter running back, getting bolted once more. He really could have burned that Mountain King, but whatever. We just see that the Panda, though, running in, trying to do what he can to save the Demon Hunter. You see the Demon Hunter is getting constantly focused. You see right there, he tries to put the breaker in to block it, and that would have worked if he was on land, but again, Chinese internet for the lose. Just gets to staff that Demon Hunter home. And Demon Hunter doesn't really have many Moon Walls to tag, but a bear just came in. But I don't think he's going to turn his Demon Hunter around. There he goes, turns the Demon Hunter around, gets the mana, gets the rejuve, and comes back in. So you see really good, just a lot of awareness from Moon here, knowing that Bear came out so he could heal his Demon Hunter. All sorts of good stuff like that. The Panda coming in just in time to staff the Demon Hunter home. Some of this is just fortunate, some of this is just good play. But you see lots of bears. 1/1 upgrades are very useful. You see he's out upgrading the bears, or sorry, the spell breakers. Breakers are only 1 and 0. The mortars as well, only 1 and 0. Thankfully, the Night Elf upgrades adhere to both Dryads and bears. And you just see again that your opponent has Brilliant Sword, and so it's very difficult to keep your bears unslowed. Sorceresses are less food, they're less lumber than Dryads, and they have Brilliant Swords, so they have more mana, and so it's very difficult to keep your army unslowed. And so oftentimes what you'll see is Night Elves will not keep autocast slow on because they would rather get rid of water elementals. And that just, a lot of it depends on how many Dryads you actually have. If you only have like 3-4 Dryads and it's kind of late game, there's no point in dispelling slow, because it won't do much for you. In this kind of case, where he knows his opponent's army is getting taken down constantly, and he's constantly losing sorceresses, and he's constantly almost out of mana, that dispelling those couple of slows will keep those bears unslowed, and he will actually get to have full use out of them the entire time. But you notice that the defensive towers that Infi ended up putting up were a very big asset in this battle. It actually was probably the reason he lost a bunch of Dryads and ended up not being able to win this battle. Now, very, very interesting play here from Moon. He actually staffs his Panda home so that he can pick up Scrolls of Healing, because Moon does not want to give up expansion yet. If you fight 1 base versus 2 the entire game, it is not easy to win. It is extremely difficult. It is extremely difficult. And actually, right here, Moon got extremely lucky. He actually evaded a bash. The Mountain King was actually pulling his axe back, and he had the animation for a bash, and Moon managed to evade it. That's really, really useful. But you just see here, Pow, I've got Healing Scrolls. Passes, uses the one, passes the one to the Demon Hunter. He's going to walk, make sure he's in range of all his units, and Pow, there's the Healing Scroll usage. And that's just extremely useful. 300 hit points, basically 1/3 heal on all his units, is really, really useful. It's not a ton, obviously. It's not like a full heal, but it's very, very useful in this kind of situation where he's getting AoE'd down by mortars. He's taking a lot of damage here. From a variety of sources, and he's microing well enough that his units aren't getting instantly picked off 1 by 1. And so these kind of cases are just really useful to have that level of healing. But so Moon's kind of splitting his army up here. I guess he's trying to get like positioning right now. He catches a bolt on his Demon Hunter, not happy stuff there. But you see the Dryads running around. The one good thing is that if your opponent doesn't have Riflemen, there's no easy way to get rid of Dryads that are on the move, because Dryads that are moving, they'll take full damage from an Archmage, they'll take full damage from Spellbreakers, which isn't very much damage. The Archmage, a decent amount, but Mortars will likely miss. Casters, obviously, they're immune to that kind of damage, and so you just have Water Elementals, which are dispellable, and an Archmage, which does a decent amount. But other than that, if you dance your Dryads around, you're typically going to be pretty healthy. You can see right here, just Mortars constantly missing. Yeah, they're slowly wearing down the Dryads, but for what's supposed to be kind of a hard counter, they're not doing all that great of a job. So you shouldn't be always afraid of using Dryads as long as you have the attention and the ability to micro them a little bit so that you can dodge attacks. The Moon here is going to try to win this battle here. You can see he's used the mana, or sorry, the Magic Immunity Potion. He has the staff on both his heroes, so he knows that he's not going to lose his Demon Hunter. When he was Magic Immune, he already mana burned the Mountain King, so he knows he's not in danger of that kind of stuff. But you see here that Moon, now that he's suddenly microing the rest of his army, the Dryads are getting picked off, they're getting extremely low, the towers are now up. The mortars, even though they're not the hugest damaging units in the world, although they actually are the most damaging siege in the game, I'll go over that a little bit later. They do wear down bears. He's up to 2/2 upgrades, which is pretty nice. The bears are pretty useful now. But Moon kind of realizes that the army's just getting too good. The casters all have full mana. Sorcerers all at 190 something. Sorcerers, the priests all have 190 something. His Dryads are super low. They're all out of mana. The bears are all really low. He simply couldn't withstand that battle anymore. He bought himself some more time with the 2 Scrolls of Healing, but he just simply did not have the capability anymore. Very interesting here is the Mountain King has 2 staffs of teleportation. I just find that kind of interesting, but whatever. You see that Moon takes the breather, says, okay, I lost my expansion. Because, as much as you want to hold on to an expansion, and you really do, it's very hard to fight 1 base versus 2. I know this kind of sounds like I'm going back on my own point, but as hard as it is to fight 1 base versus 2, as long as you at least survive to fight another couple minutes later, at least you have a chance of winning, If you simply lose your entire army and your expansion, you've lost. If you only lose your expansion and keep your army, you still have a decent chance. Because even though he's lost his expansion, he's still at 58 something food. He wasn't like he was at 20 food and had to replace everything. Now I realize he is very much under his opponent in food count. 58 here versus 71 from Infi. That's obviously a big deal. But you notice real quick, if you look at the NGL scoreboard, Infi, his army is only 57 food large, and the Nut Elf army is 52 food. So Moon only has 6 food and workers, whereas Infi has significantly more. So that makes a difference. So just keep that in mind. Additionally, I believe the scoreboard simply counts Shredders as combat units, so it makes things interesting there as well. That's one good thing about Shredders, is that there's 2 good reasons. Obviously, one of them is if you just simply need the lumber, they are more efficient per food than any other worker in the game. Ghouls, peasants, what have you. And so if you just need a big 80 food army, having a Shredder instead of 8 peasants, obviously the 80 food is more of that will be dedicated to your actual army. Secondly, once you have a ton of lumber, because they're so good at harvesting lumber, once you have a ton, you can actually just turn it into a free combat unit. And so now you actually have 0 food dedicated to chopping wood. You simply have up to 75 food of your army